Hello everyone, this is Liz. I'm just showing you my next project, and this project was kind of inspired by my many wreaths I've been making for a customer. When I was doing searching and looking for fabrics, I saw fabrics and I said, "Ooh, I want to make a wreath like that. Ooh, I want to make a wreath like that with this fabric, and I want to make a wreath with that fabric." Hello, oi. Hey, um, I'm just here. This is Liz with Crafty Devotion. I'm just sharing my current project, and I'm kind of showing you, explaining how I was inspired to design this one. And I was inspired because, as you know, I've been sharing with you a lot of wreaths that I've been making for a customer. But as in that time, I kept on seeing fabrics and saying, "Ooh, I'd like to make a wreath with that fabric." And so then I became inspired. Hi, Vicky. Oh, thanks. I'm glad you're watching my videos. Welcome to my channel. I um I have a lot of videos that I made, and I've been really concentrating a lot on making videos while I was learning to craft, and I'm still learning to craft actually. I learn something new every day. There's things I don't know. And I just go with it. I don't let my inability or my knowledge, like, I would say one big mistake I made was when way I pronounced some things, or like I made flour out of silk. I thought it was silk, and I learned later on it was a synthetic silk. So it was still silk, but it was synthetic. Real true silk doesn't melt. So those are some things I've learned, as I keep on going. And I'm not, I'll keep on working on pronouncing things correctly, but I don't let it get to me. Otherwise, I'd never list anything. So right now, what I'm doing right now is I'm only doing lives because I do not have time to edit, don't have time to teach. And some things, truly, some of the things I don't want to teach you every single thing I do, because I want you to be inspired, and I don't want everybody to be just like me. I want you to go off and take my ideas, and you can run with them, and figure it out at your own. That was from Angel Heart 51, Francisca Ortega. Oh, she lives in Sonora, Mexico, she says. Um, she lives in San Luis Rio, Colorado, Sonora, Mexico. Hola, Francisca, aquí estoy. Oh, I make it easy for you to learn. I'm so glad, because that was my goal. When I first started, I just was teaching you what I learned or what I discovered myself, and I made my own designs and my own, I think, technique for making flowers. And then later on I realized, I saw this need of maybe trying to teach some of the flower making I learned on YouTube from people, but make them my own with my own twist, and then teach them in a slightly different fashion. So this piece right here was inspired, like I said, by my many wreaths I've been making lately. And I wanted to make something with the blue, and it was actually this fabric right here in front that I was inspired with. And I wanted it to be more earthy, vintage look. And let me show you the full thing. This is how it looks right now. I may make a couple of little changes here and there, but it is very more earthy, vintage look. And you can see, I'll give you some close-ups in a little while. And then I add a little bit of elegance, but not too much. I'm actually working on another wreath. I had two blues I liked, and one was a teal, and one was that more blue with gold I showed you, and I wanted to bring them together. They're going to end up being two wreaths. So before I start on my next wreath, I thought I'd take pictures. This particular one is going to go in my Etsy shop, and I'm probably going to list it more like a boho vintage style, because it has that a little bit of that earthy tone to it, but at the same time it has, and I've used a lot of vintage things in this and new all mixed together. And I'm going to show you some of them. And I really did use a lot of puff flowers. I was thinking about adding more doilies to it, but I added them in a different way instead of like making a lot of flowers. And I still might add a couple more flowers here and there, but I'm not 100% sure. But this here is a vintage um, flat sheet that I purchased from a thrift store, and it has like greens, and it really pulled up the colors a little bit, and it has a little bit of a pattern. Let me get close. You can see the pattern it has to it, and I put in the center, I placed a doily that was tea dyed, or I think I dyed it at one time. It might be avocado dyed actually, or tea dyed, I don't know. And then I decided I wanted to use these buttons. I have these metal buttons. If you could see them, I used to have them in my shop. I chose the copper ones and I decided to make those the centers. And I actually kept that consistent with all the puff flowers I made. So here's the other one. This is a gold fabric that I put throughout, and it also has a center of a doily, a piece of a doily with that same button as a center. And over here is some teal fabric I used. And it's kind of like I was able to bring a little bit of that lighter color of the gold fabric here, and I was able to bring it together. I found this in my stash. Or no, actually, this one I recently purchased from a thrift store, and it's new stock. That one was new, vintage taffeta. It's actually taffeta. And over here, I did create with all of this technique a beautiful melted flower, and in the center I did keep a metal center. I placed it's a brass button, and I used to have these buttons in my shop. I took them out because nobody was purchasing them, and I decided that way I could just use them if I want. And so here is me using them. And here I placed one more right here, handmade flower with that same center in there, and it is seared. So I mix like different things together. Let's see, in the fabrics I use, I think you can see the fabrics a little better on this side. As you can see, I used a variety. This one needs to be trimmed, but sometimes I trim them, sometimes I don't. And so I found a little piece of this fabric and I thought it went well. Little bits of that. Here's the gold fabric. You saw the flower with the gold. Oops, right here. Hey, where are you? I don't want to move too much. See the gold? This is actually a vintage curtain. I could have put it up in my house, but I love it. It's more cottony, and I just been using it in my crafts for these wreaths I've been making, because it's like a mustard gold color. And then I decided to add, early on I decided to add this trim. This trim I have in my shop right now. I actually was considering, because it has a variety of colors. You could see this color, and this color. It's more like a coppery, which I thought went with the copper buttons I put in there. And I actually thought about taking one out, but I'm not sure. I don't think I'll do that. It's growing on me how it looks. And I made this an offset type of a wreath. If you can see here, things are offset. They're not symmetrical. On the left side I put flowers, on the right side there's not many flowers, and I'm trying to bring out the fabrics and all the colors and mixtures of the fabric to help to offset it. And I put a couple of little things on that side, not a lot. This doily right here, it was a brand new doily, but it was a vintage one that I purchased at a secondhand store. And it's actually a made in China one. It still had a sticker on it. So, but it looks so handmade. So it may be handmade in China. But I thought it was beautiful. And what I did with this one is it was a star, and you could see I just tacked the star, the edges of the star, and I left it open along here. And let's see. And then I decided to go ahead and put a flat pearl all along the edge, just to bring in a little bit of the cream and offset that trim. And yeah, this trim is in my shop, and I like this trim because if you want, you can remove each tassel, and you can go ahead and take it off, and then you put another string through it, and you can hang it from your albums or any place you like tassels. And it feels very soft and cottony, even though I think it's a blend. So there's that. And then let's see, the bling. I decided, right, to just I hung this one offset, And it's just a piece, it's actually a piece of new fashion jewelry. And I left the chain on it and I just hung it right there. And then on this side, this piece I just picked up the other day. It's a vintage earring, and this is actually a, a stone. I don't know what kind of stone it is, but it's not real. Like it's like the stones you might find, glass type stone. And you can see that it's actually a clip-on earring. Let me show you. You can see that. Oh, it's a clip-on earring. I just put it right in there and snapped it down, and it just a pretty color. And over here, I decided to go ahead and put a small a cameo. I carry some of these cameos in my shop. I do have more cameos. I know a lot of them are disappearing. People are buying them, and I do still have some in my shop, especially the little ones. But I will be placing. I will going to try and organize soon and place more. This one, I decided to hang it with one of the vintage bulb pins that I have, and it can actually be removed if the customer wants to remove that one. Last of all, again, I use on my tassel parts. Let me show you the tassel, what it looks like. Let me pull back. You can see the tassel. I make my tassels with the fabrics and laces. And you can see this time I used a trim. I'll kind of get closer. And you can see that same trim that I have up here on top. I actually placed it down below. Let me see. In here, I layer a lot of the fabrics and laces, and then on top I put more that are a little bit, bring in some of the colors from around. And so this is a thin lace. I have some soft laces in my shop, but they're pretty wide. This one's probably 2 inches. The ones I have, I think, are more like 4 or 5 inches. And then I placed some of that trim again hanging on this side. And this was just a piece that was, it could have been a yard. I don't know. It might be more. And then I decided to use this is a velvet ribbon that I used there. And you can see the colors are not exact if you look at them together, but it brings out some of the lightness of this one here. And I added some beads, a lot of beads there. And I think there's beads on this side too, a few more, that side. And then last of all, this is the last thing I added, was this piece of a trim. This is a cotton trim. I have some of this that's newer, that's more synthetic, but this one's actually a cotton, and I have some in my stash. I keep on trying to find the cotton one like this, but every time I purchase it, it's more of a blend instead of a full cotton. It's more of a blended cotton, and I do have a little bit of that, but I decided to choose this one because I thought it went well with the doily. You can see the colors are close. On this one, what's one other thing I did? Over here, as you can see, I'm using scraps. Look, this is a scrap of it used to be a doily. I think it was a curtain, actually. It's a real cotton curtain where I took off some of the doilies that were intermixed in it. And then the scraps, I've just trimmed and left them scraggly. Look how scraggly they are. And I just placed them a little long so they can droop over on the sides. And you can bring some forward if you want. This one is actually pulled forward, so it's actually falling over in front. It's pulled from over here, and it's falling over this way. And I can do that more. So this is my next one. This is going in my shop. So I am working on another one, and that's why I was trying to show you guys this one, because I need to take this one and put it aside, finish it up. I still got to finish up the back and then place it in my shop, and then I'll start working on the other ones, and I'll let you have a sneak peek of, it's also blue, but it is slightly darker blues that I'm working with. See, the fabric's almost like a peacock blue. It's very similar to that one, but it's going to be a little bit more blue than earthy, and a little more, I think it's going to be more elegant than earthy looking. I think I'm going to make this one look more peacock blue, elegant with, shiny dark blue, a lot more blue in it. And I just was going blue because I haven't done blue. And I was inspired by the fabric. So I hope you guys are inspired. If you guys have questions, let me know. I will just tell you a little bit what's going on with me, and then I will sign off. Again, I'm Liz with Crafty Devotion, and lately I have not been doing any more tutorials, but I have close to 100, over 100 videos, but I don't know, probably at least 50 tutorials. And a lot of times I would do the tutorials like in series of um, 3, 5, 10. Sometimes there were series of just like I did a budget series of how to make flowers on a budget. I'm a very frugal crafter, and I use what I have. I like to upcycle vintage things, and I mix them with the new things. So as you can see, there's a new beautiful doily right here that is 100% cotton hanging here. But right next to it, you can see this scrap of tattered fabric. I call these tattered wreath because most of the fabrics are torn and tattered, and then I mix the colors and they become this. But right now, I'm gonna start. I have another project with for my customer. She wants me to do that I didn't get to, and the reason I was working on this one is because I was not feeling well. When I don't feel well and I and my illness flares up, what happens to me is that I sit and I can't think, but sometimes I'll just start doing stuff that this one just started said, "Hey, I have this fabric, something inspiring," but I can't think about, like, for the customer, where am I going to get that box that she wants me to wrap? I need to look for it. She wants a certain fabric, and I just couldn't think of that. So and I don't go out much. My energy's totally zapped. So I usually craft. Crafting has been healing for me. If you can see, I come up with my own styles and designs. And so right now, all I'm doing is designing, and also I added vintage items into my Etsy shop, and I was working on that before this customer really had a lot of things, so I hadn't been even sharing with you crafts because I'd been working on that. And I have a whole load of stuff that I need to keep on adding into the shop that I have. And I'm not only, if I purchase something and I realize, oh, it's not even vintage, then I'm also posting on Etsy some of the things. So, and I'll share every once in a while on my Facebook page and here on YouTube. So I've already been here, 18 minutes. So I think that's long enough, and no one asked a question that I could tell. Here's the last look of what this earthy blue vintage wreath looks like, tattered, shabby. I call it beautiful. I'm not sure. Would you call this one elegant? Well, this is Liz with Crafty Devotion. I will talk to you next time. I hope you're inspired by my various designs. And you go on and look at all my tutorials. I show you how to make flowers. I show you how I began making my wreaths. Um, and you go ahead and create your own things. I'll talk to you guys next time.